What's up, guys? I'm BTC. We got some pretty big news about a very large change that's coming to Overwatch in the next couple weeks. This information comes courtesy of an Overwatch streamer named Emong. During one of his recent live streams, he talked a little bit about some of the things that Overwatch could do to improve, and he made a pretty declarative statement that there is going to be something very big happening in the next few weeks. He did this in kind of a tongue-in-cheek manner while winking at the camera. It's quite obvious he knows something about what's going on. Someone at Blizzard has told him or showed him what is going to be changing, but he obviously doesn't want to spoil it during the live stream, and also probably doesn't want to make Blizzard angry at him. Let me play you a quick clip of what I'm talking about.
I have a feeling that things will improve with Overwatch going forward. I don't know how I know this at all. I don't know how I know it.
So the question is, well, what is it that's going to be added? What is it that clearly has him pretty excited about this change? If you listen to the way he's talking, he's mostly referring to how competitive play works. And among some of those things are about how people are frustrated with the quality of matches, poor hero balance, queue times, other things that make people, not really super excited about the current competitive play. And because of that, there's a couple of things that I think we can eliminate right away that are not what he's referring to. The first is Overwatch 2. The game is going to be primarily co-op against the computer. That doesn't really change anything in the PvP aspect. I just don't think any kind of Overwatch 2 announcement is going to have any impact on what he's referring to. Another possibility could be the recent suggestion that Jeff Kaplan made with the role queue change going from 2-2-2 and moving to a 1 tank, 3 DPS, 2 support, but I don't think that's going to be it either, because the way that Jeff Kaplan was talking about it in his forum post that he made, it sounded like they're still very much experimenting with it, and they're not really certain if it would be a good idea. It would require some pretty substantial changes to the game, reworking entire characters. You're talking about months and months of work, and I don't think that they're going to be able to change all of that stuff in the span of just a couple weeks. It's not going to happen. Alright, so what about a new hero or a new map? That doesn't really fix any of the issues on competitive, though. In fact, from what we've seen, adding new heroes, certain ones anyways, tends to make the situation worse, right? Like, you look at the last couple heroes that we've gotten. You have Sigma, Baptiste, Brigitte. Adding those characters, they changed the game, sure, but they also caused a whole lot of problems, right? So because of Brigitte, they had to implement the entire 2-2-2 role queue system. Because of Sigma, they had to massively nerf barriers, right? And they just went and nerfed a bunch of Baptiste stuff as well. And that actually brings up another thing. Could it be a big hero balance patch that they're going to add? I don't think that's it either, because that doesn't really seem like what he would be getting excited for. I mean, after all, they just nerfed some of the stuff. They just nerfed Baptiste. So if they were going to add something new, then I just don't see it. I don't see like a balance patch being the issue. So not a new hero, not Overwatch 2, none of that stuff. Now, there's another thing that you guys need to consider, and that is how important the Overwatch League is to Blizzard. I know a lot of you guys don't care about the League, which is why I don't make videos covering it, because for the most part, when I do, you guys don't really watch it, and there's no point in me covering the League if you guys aren't interested in it. But you need to remember that the League is extremely important to Blizzard, because they have sunk an extraordinarily large amount of money into that league. And because of that, changes to the competitive scene are absolutely going to have an impact with the league itself. One of the most important reasons why the 2-2-2 role system was added was because Goats Comp and Triple Tank, Triple Support were causing problems in the league, and they were losing viewership, and they needed to solve that. So they introduced the role queue system. So having said all that, I believe that there are actually two possibilities for what this new thing could be that Emong was talking about. The first is adding the new game mode of Push. We saw this at BlizzCon, and we already know that Blizzard has 4 or 5 push maps that are either completed already or are pretty close to being finished. Why is this important? Well, because besides being a new and interesting game mode, it would also likely replace one of the less popular game modes, which is the 2 capture point maps. So Hanamura, Temple of Anubis, all that sort of stuff. We've already seen the Paris and Horizon maps taken out of the competitive map pool on the ladder due to how unpopular they are. And I realize that some people like those kinds of maps, but I think it's fairly safe to say that the majority of players don't like them. Now, even if they were only to include 1 or 2 of the push maps initially, like Toronto and one of the other things, I think it would certainly help to improve both the Overwatch League and the competitive ladder. But as cool as that would be to have the new game mode already, I think the second option is much more likely to happen, and that is that Blizzard plans the introduction of hero bans. If you listen to the way that Emong was talking, he mentions that Blizzard is moving in a direction that players have wanted. He says Blizzard is starting to get the idea of what they should do, and hero bans have been pretty heavily requested by players in the Overwatch League and other top 500 players like him. Also, the timetable that he gives, where he says in the next several weeks or possibly sooner, is very in line with the Overwatch League, because I would like to point out that the league has their first match beginning on February 8th, which is just over 2 weeks away. And if you remember, the announcement for the role queue system was initially made through the Overwatch League. In fact, in typical Blizzard fashion, they accidentally leaked the information early, but the point is, they tied it to the league. Hero bans would have an immediate effect on both the Overwatch League and the competitive ladder. Characters that are viewed as being too powerful, like Baptiste or Orisa, could be banned, thus forcing both teams to use something different. I think Hanzo would probably get quite a few bans as well. This is not going to solve some of the issues for characters that are way down at the bottom of the pick lists, like Bastion, Torbjorn, or Soldier of 76, just to name a few, but it absolutely will change up the meta and add variety to both the league and the ladder. In terms of adding a new feature to the game, something like a hero ban is on the easier side of things to do. Now, I'm not saying that it could be done in like 5 minutes, but the function doesn't really need to do a whole lot. It just needs a method of picking the character and then simply deactivating it for the rest of the match. Some of this functionality already exists through the custom matches and the role queue system, so it's not really like it would take a tremendous amount of effort to add it. There are, of course, some side effects that this would bring to the game, and that it would be more difficult for players to one-trick any character. I know immediately with the mention of one-tricks, you guys probably think of Bastions and Torbjorns and stuff, but I think that this is going to be more useful against higher skill players that specialize heavily. I'm sure you can think of a few players who almost exclusively play Doomfist or Hammond or whatever, right? Banning characters against specific players is going to be a very powerful tool to have. This is even more true in the Overwatch League. I used to watch a lot of competitive Dota 2, and there were players that were so unbelievably good at specific characters that those characters would get banned first, even if they were not generally considered the best or if they were in the current meta for Dota 2, simply because the person they were going against, that player was so effective on the hero that it was more of a benefit to ban that than to ban one of the current meta heroes. Right off the top of my head, there's a couple of players in the Overwatch League who heavily specialize into one character. Their opponents are absolutely going to ban that character if that person is playing, even if it's not in the meta. I'm guessing that the role queue system didn't quite have the effects that Blizzard fully wanted. Yes, it got rid of GOAT's comp, but double barrier can be just as frustrating, and I think that they were concerned with the loss of viewership that the Overwatch League might have. Adding hero bans ensures that no matter what the current meta is, or how the characters are currently balanced, or not properly balanced, there will always be at least some level of variety, and this makes the game more exciting, and people will more likely want to watch the league. After all, who would want to watch a football game if the teams just ran the same play every single time? It would get boring, and that's kind of the exact situation that the league was suffering from when it was just GOAT's comp every single match after match after match after match, and with double barrier, it would be the same thing. So that's what I think we're likely to get. A lesser chance that it might be the push game mode, but more likely hero bans for both Overwatch League and the competitive ladder. I don't think they would ever add it to Quick Play, by the way. I think it would just be for the ladder. So there you go. What do you guys think? Will it be hero bans? Will it be something else? And if it is hero bans, what do you guys think of that? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell to get notified. You can get some cool gear, join my Discord server, or follow me on social media with the links down in the description below. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters, and remember, always blame the controller because it's never your fault.